The Tragedy of Cinema podcast is intended as a family-friendly program that by extension strives to be inclusive to all people regardless of their ethnicity, gender, creed, or any other identifying factors in this incredibly diverse world of ours. With that said, some of the films we discuss may contain serious subject matters or have content considered morally objectionable by today's standards. We do not intend to condone or dismiss these aspects of these films, but our primary focus will be on what we believe the film succeeds at, some fun facts, and our personal enjoyment factors of each film. With that said, we hope you enjoy the show.
Superman 2. The adventure continues with the three villains from Krypton. Each one with the same powers as Superman. Each one dedicated to violence against mankind.
Think of it. 3 supervillains. Or 4 if we count him twice.
The adventure continues in Paris with Lois Lane.
I believe this is your floor.
And the romance continues. The adventure continues in Washington. The world is on the brink of destruction.
Superman, can you hear me?
And Metropolis is in ruins.
Superman, help us!
Is there no one on this planet to even challenge me?
Superman!
General, would you care to step outside?
Revenge.
Revenge!
Revenge!
Now we're cooking, huh?
The big one's just as strong as Superman.
If you've only seen the first part, you haven't seen the best part. The adventure continues in Superman 2.
All right, guys, welcome back to our Summer of Sequels series. Kyle, I'm really excited today to talk about one of my favorite movies of all time.
Absolutely, Jimbo. It's a good time.
I am Jimbo.
Yeah.
And he is Kyle.
I'm the co-host, Kyle, and that's Jimbo over there sitting across from me as we record this podcast.
That's right.
There you go. Introductions been made. Yeah. Lunches on the beach.
We're doing something that we have never done before on this podcast. We are covering Superman 2 and coinciding with Superman 2, the Richard Donner cut, because they are the same movie, but they are different movies. And
considerably, many ways.
Yes, there are many scenes that are cut from one and added to the other, added from the one and cut to the other. There's difference between Marlon Brando's appearance as Superman's dad or Superman's mom when he decides to become human. But this is definitely it's in my top 10 of all time. And when I was a kid, this is one of the ones that I always used to act like I was playing Superman with, because this has the greatest villains in it of all time with Zod, Ursula, and Non. And they just wreak havoc, and Superman stops them, and I love it so much. And I think, before we get any further, Kyle, who do you think played the best Superman of all time?
It's Christopher Reeve. There's no other answer to that.
No, there's not.
I mean, I like the what's the name of the current, not the current guy, the last guy who just, Henry Cavill, like, I think he did a fine job looking like Superman, but I don't think his performance actually gave anything really nuanced to me that really felt interesting.
I think Christopher Reeve played an excellent Clark Kent. To go from the nerdy Clark Kent to Superman by just taking off his glasses, and
no actor sold it better.
Ever.
Truly.
Of all time.
He was the only actor who, like, convincingly on screen could just take off his glasses and become Superman. Everyone else, they have to cut. There's a scene where he's Clark Kent, and there's a scene where he's Superman. Only Christopher Reeve can turn from Christopher Reeve. He can turn from Clark Kent to Superman.
Just by like his facial expressions and everything, it's just amazing.
Yeah, just by changing his posture, he sold it better than any other actor has. I would like to see other actors try, but there was a reason they didn't do it.
Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, Nicolas Cage. I would have loved to see the Nicolas Cage Superman movie. I think that would have been really good.
Do you seen it in
the 2 seconds in the Flash where he's a CG render? That doesn't count. That doesn't count.
All right, Kyle, take it away.
All right, Jimbo. We have Superman 2 and Superman 2, the Richard Donner cut. Superman 2 was originally released on June 19th, 1981. Superman 2, the Richard Donner cut, was released on November 2nd, 2006. A lot later. So that's really cool there, too. Directed by... the film follows the story of Superman, who agrees to sacrifice his powers and start a relationship with Lois Lane, unaware that 3 Kryptonian criminals have inadvertently released and are now conquering Earth. I'm going to try that one more time just because I butchered it so badly there. Superman agrees to sacrifice his powers to start a relationship with Lois Lane, unaware that 3 Kryptonian criminals have inadvertently been released and are now conquering Earth. There we go. That sounded a lot better to me.
That sounds like a professional.
It sounded like a professional. Almost. If I just practice every show for like 3 hours, I can do like 1 hour of good show. That's how it goes. Anyways, this film was directed by Richard Lester and Richard Donner. Richard Lester for the original cut, and then the Richard Donner directed, of course, the Richard Donner cut of the film, as one might expect. Writers for the film credited, of course, being Jerry Siegel for the character for the actor who created this character, Superman, John Schuster for original creation of Superman, Mario Puzo for the story,
The Godfather.
Yep, and David Newman for the screenplay, and Leslie Nielsen for the screenplay.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, right. Truly crazy indeed. Next up, we have producers. Produced by Perry Springler and Michael Thau. Composed by John Williams for both cuts of the film. And Ken Thorne for the original cut, and then John Williams for the Richard Donner cut. Then we have cinematographer for Jeffrey Unsworth for the Richard Donner cut. And let's see here. Do we have the cinematographer for that side? We have Robert Painter and Jonathan Unsworth for the Superman 2, the original cut. Then for the Superman 2 cut, for the casting director, we have Debbie McWilliams. And then for the Richard Donner cut, we have Lean Stylemaster. So that's going to cause the... I'm going back and forth there, and I'm not sure I'm getting it right now. Technical details for the film. For Superman 2, the original cut was 127 minutes long. For the Richard Donner cut of the film, it is cut down to 116 minutes. Sound mix for the film, for the original Superman 2 was 70mm 6-track Mega Sound encoding and Dolby Stereo for future home releases. And then for the Richard Donner film, it was just released in Dolby Digital surround sounds info right there. Color info, this is a color film in Technicolor. Aspect ratio is 2.39 by 1 for the Richard Donner cut of the film, and 2.2 by 1 for the home release of the film. Cameras used were the Panavision PSR R200 Panavision C-Series lenses and the Panavision Panaflex Millennium XL2 and the Panavision Premio C&E Series lenses and the AWZ2 lenses for additional footage, and also the Westcam for aerial shots of the film. So that concludes the technical details of the film. Moving on here, we're going to cover some of the awards. The awards include, for the 2024 Academy of Science Fiction, Fantasy, and Horror Film Awards, where we have the win for the Saturn Award for Best Film Home Media Collection Re-Releases of Superman 1978 through 1987 for the 4K Ultra HD 5-film collection of the Superman films. Then for the 2012 Academy of Science Fiction, Fantasy, and Horror Film Awards, we have a nomination for Best DVD Collection for Warner Brothers as part of the collection, the Superman, the Motion Picture Anthology from 1978 to 2006 that included the Superman 2 Richard Donner cut. Oh my gosh. And then for the 2007, the Saturn Awards, it won the Saturn Award for the Best DVD Special Edition re-release for the one-off Superman 2 Richard Donner Cut DVD release. Then for the 2006 Las Vegas Film Critics Society Awards, it won the Best DVD for the Superman Collection edition from Warner Bros. Entertainment. The Sierra Award, if you will. 2006 for the Satellite Award, 2006. It won the Best Satellite Award for Best Overall DVD for Superman, the Ultimate Collector's Edition. And then, moving on here, we also have the 2006 Golden Schmoes Award. We have a second place winner for the Best DVD and Blu-ray of the Year for the Ultimate Superman Collection. And then for the 1982 Academy of Science Fiction, Fantasy, and Horror Awards, for the awards for the actual film itself, we have a win for the Best Science Fiction Film, Best Actress nomination for Margaret Qualley, nomination for Best Music to Ken Thorne and John Williams, and nomination for Best Actor to Christopher Reeve. That concludes the awards for Superman 2. Moving on here, we're going to go on to the cast of Superman 2 and Richard Donner Cut, respectively. We, of course, have, first up, Christopher Reeve playing the role of Clark Kent and Superman. Christopher Reeve, of course, easily well known as his most important role, Superman. From the original Superman in 1978 and the future Superman 3 and Superman 4, Quest for Peace. And he also appeared in the film Somewhere in Time.
You ever seen Somewhere in Time?
No, I haven't, Jim. Have
you need to watch it.
Is it really good?
Me and Terrence covered it a long time ago. Great movie. I want to see what you think of it.
Maybe we'll do a second recording of it sometime.
Yeah.
Another recording of it. Sounds good to me. Next up, we have Gene Hackman playing the role of the legendary Lex Luthor, the criminal mastermind. Gene Hackman, of course, an amazing actor in his own self. We could do a podcast just about Gene Hackman, and we have 50 episodes deep, easily. Of course, many great movies such as The French Connection in 1971 and The Conversation in 1974.
And Hoosiers.
Another excellent film right there, and many more great films. Enemy of the State, and many great. Gene Hackman, amazing actor. Yeah. Next up, we have Ned Beatty playing the role of Otis. Ned Beatty also was in the film Network in 1976 and Deliverance in 1972.
Let's go like big.
Next up, we have Jackie Cooper playing the role of Perry White. Jackie Cooper also appeared in the first Superman film in 1978, and he also was in the film Skippy in 1931. Then next up we have Sarah Douglas playing the role of Ursa, the beautiful Ursa, if you don't mind me saying. Sarah Douglas was also in the original Superman film in 1978 and also appeared in Conan the Destroyer in 1984. Conan the Destroyer.
That's a great movie.
Yeah. Then next up we have the great Margaret Kitty playing the role of Lois Lane.
Margaret who?
Margaret Kidder. Margaret Kidder, sorry. Margaret Kidder playing the role of Lois Lane. She also appeared in the 1978 Superman film and also appeared in the film Black Christmas in 1974. Next up, we have Jack O'Halloran playing the role of Non. Jack O'Halloran playing the role of Non also appeared in the film Dragnet in 1987 and Hero and the Terror in 1988. Then next up, we have Terrence Stamp, legendary Terrence Stamp, playing the role of General Zod, the ultimate villain of this film, if you don't mind me saying. Playing the role of General Zod. Terrence Stamp also appeared in such films such as The Limey in 1999, The Last Night in Soho in 2021, and Star Wars: The Phantom Menace in 1999. Then we have Susanna York playing the role of Laura. Susanna York also was on the film A Man of All Seasons. Clifton James played the role of Sheriff in the film. Clifton James also appeared in the film Live and Let Die in 1973. E.G. Marshall played the role of the President. E.G. Marshall also appeared in the good film 12 Angry Men in 1957. Mark McClure also played the role of Jimmy Olsen. Mark McClure also appeared in Back to the Future in 1985. Then we have Lauren Willoughby playing the role of Laureen. Laureen also appeared in the original Superman in 1978. Then we have Robin Pappas playing the role of Alice. Robin Pappas was also in the film The Shining in 1980. And then we have Roger Kemp playing the role of Spokesman. Roger Kemp also appeared in the film The Dragon Slayer in 1981. And that concludes the cast of Superman 2. And then in Superman 2, the Richard Donner cut, which I don't know if I have a cast here, we also have the actor who played Superman's dad, legendary actor Marlon Brando, playing the role of Jor-El for the Richard Donner cut of the film. Thank you, Jimbo. Appreciate it. And that concludes the cast of Superman 2.
All right, Kyle. Now, being a big Superman fan, he is my favorite superhero of all time. Obviously, I have a biased opinion about
this
movie.
film
Yes.
and all Superman.
So,
art.
what I'm going to do, I have a little bit of notes on the Richard Donner cut, which we'll talk about, and we'll talk about some of the differences in the movies as we go along. But let's knock out the riddle trivia real quick. So originally, Richard Donner had filmed Superman talking to his father for this movie, but Marlon Brando sued for and won a share of the first film's gross. The lawsuit also awarded him a share of this film's gross, even though he doesn't appear in it. Brando's scenes were replaced by scenes with Superman's mother. Brando's scenes were appeared in Superman 2, the Richard Donner cut, and briefly during the scene in Superman Returns. So he was even in that.
Mm-hmm.
At around 1 hour and 40 minutes, the scene in which General Zod, Ursa, and Non used their super breath to create a storm in Metropolis was shot over 3 freezing November nights at Pinewood Studios in England. Richard Lester improvised most of the jokes during that. There's several of them in there if you pay attention.
Cool.
In a 2004 interview, Margot Kidder claimed that Richard Donner shot enough scenes to make his own cut of the film, and thus the unused footage was somewhere in a vault. A website started a petition for Warner Brothers to allow and sponsor Donner's cut of the movie. The footage was re-edited into Superman 2, the Richard Donner cut. So, luckily he had enough done before he got canned. In the original script, the nuclear missile from Superman releases Zod and companions from the Phantom Zone. This scene was added to Superman 2, the Richard Donner cut, and the scene in Paris was deleted. So here we have our first thing. In the Superman 2, the non-Richard Donner cut, it is the hydrogen bomb in the Eiffel Tower that Superman takes up into space and throws it way out there, and it blows up, and it breaks the glass from the Phantom Zone, and the 3 Kryptonians are escaping.
Yeah.
In the Richard Donner cut, it goes back to the first Superman movie, I believe, where the Gene Hackman launches the nuclear missile, and Superman grabs it and he throws it out into space, and it goes way, way, way out there and blows up, and that releases him. So that's one difference. And the Richard Donner cut does not have the Paris scene at all. It doesn't have
any of that.
That's a pretty cool.
It's a pretty cool sequence, but it keeps the focus on Lex Luthor being connected to that story, which I think is pretty cool.
Right.
Him being the cause of General Zod's escape.
And whatever happened to Miss Tessmacher? Once she goes to the Superman's thing with Lex Luthor, you don't see her the rest of the movie in either version.
That's weird. Yeah, she just kind of disappears after they go to the Fortress of Solitude.
I guess it's because maybe the director got cut. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, she would have come out of the room if she was in the room with all the
Richard Donner does appear as the director cameo at around an hour and 18 minutes. He walks out of the frame during a point of view shot as Lois and Clark pull up for dinner. Gene Hackman did not want to return to do reshoots for the second film. All of his scenes were originally filmed by Richard Donner. Other scenes were shot by the new director that required Lex Luthor to use a look-alike and a voice impersonator to add any lines needed. So these notes are intertwined, I guess. According to Sarah Douglas and Jack O'Halloran, they did not get along with Christopher Reeve. Imagine that. Ursa didn't get along with Christopher Reeve.
Yeah. Well, you just know immediately Ursula's wrong then, too, because Reeve, how can anyone not get along with Christopher
How can
Reeve?
nobody not like Christopher Reeve?
Yeah, he's amazing.
There is a movie I want us to cover called Noises Off. It's got John Ritter, Christopher Reeve. It's got a bunch of people that I want us to cover sometime.
Someday.
During one take of the shot in which Lois punches Ursa, Margot Kidder accidentally punched Sarah Douglas and knocked her unconscious.
Whoops. That's definitely an OS moment kind of there.
Gene Hackman, Ned Beatty, and Valerie Perrine and E.G. Marshall were the only actors not to participate in the film's reshoots under the direction of Richard Lester. Christopher Reeve, Margot Kidder, Jackie Cooper, and Mark McClure are the only actors to appear in the first 4 Superman films. Also, McClure was the only one to appear in Supergirl, which we'll have to cover sometimes. You ever seen Supergirl?
Was that the actual movie or a show?
The movie.
It was a movie, okay.
Have you ever seen it?
No.
For a barn burner there. Sarah Douglas said she had more fun working with Gene Hackman than any other actor from the first two Superman films.
That's pretty cool.
There is I told Kyle, I couldn't believe I saw it, but it is. There is a framed photo of none other than legendary comedian Bill Cosby on a wall in Perry White's office. In one of his early stand-up performances, Cosby did a skit about Superman. It can be heard on his 1963 comedy album, Bill Cosby is a Very Funny Fellow, right? We'll leave that alone. Eve Tessmacher disappeared from the storyline after she and Lex Luthor leave the Fortress of Solitude, and her absence from the rest of the movie is never, ever explained. This is due to Valerie Perrine's scenes being filmed by Richard Donner, who was fired from the sequel before completion. So, guess she just got lost in the mix.
Yep, that's how it goes sometimes.
Here you go, Kyle. Henry Fonda was the frontrunner for the major cameo role of the U.S. president. Instead, his 12 Angry Men co-star E.G. Marshall got the role.
Just to cycle them out for every scene that happens with the president, they should have a different actor from the 12 Angry Men in it.
That'd be awesome. This is the only one of the first 4 Superman movies not to have any scenes in Smallville.
Oh, yeah, that's an interesting fact.
Sarah Douglas was the only cast member to do extensive around-the-world press tours in support of the film and was one of the few actresses who held a neutral point of view in the Richard Donner-Richard Lester controversy.
Yeah, I imagine doing the post-tour.
Terrible.
Constantly getting questions about that.
Here you go, Kyle. This is another sad. On the first day of filming, first day, set designer John Barry suddenly collapsed on the nearby set of Star Wars Episode V, The Empire Strikes Back, and died from meningitis. Peter Merton was then hired in Barry's place.
Ooh, geez.
On the first day.
Yeah, that's oh boy. Talk about getting a rough start.
John Williams did not return as composer due to scheduling commitments with Star Wars Episode V and Raiders of the Lost Ark. However, Williams granted the Salkinds permission to use his original themes and even recommended composer Ken Thorne, a personal friend of Williams, to compose the film's score.
I think he did a good job too.
Yep. Christopher Reeve felt that this was the best film in the franchise. I can't disagree there, Reeve.
I think he has a strong case for it, yeah.
On August 1st, 1981, a television spot for the film was the first commercial ever aired on MTV.
Oh my gosh, that reminds me. I didn't actually cover the budget for the film. Jimbo, I've got to cover the budget for the film. Budget for the film was $54 million in 1980. Just for inflation, it would be about $205 million today. Opening weekend, though, it only brought in $14.1 million. Just for inflation, it would be about $60 million today. And then gross in U.S. and Canada was $108.1 million. Just for inflation, it would be about $412 million today. And then gross worldwide, Jimbo, where it made the big bucks, $216.4 million. Just for inflation, that'd be the equivalent of $824.7 million today. So huge money, just short of $1 billion almost. Just insane money for this film. So yeah, Superman 2 was huge, and that's awesome. Good for them.
So Kyle, there are 2 controversial scenes in this film that fans and critics alike have complained about for years. Do you know what they are?
I guess it would have to do with the flying S scene and
the what?
The flying S when he pulls the the S on his chest and throws it at Non.
That is one, yes.
Yeah, that has to be one of them, and I don't know what the other one would be.
The Superman's amnesia-inducing kiss.
Oh yeah, that's a weird one.
They say the skill was never mentioned in the comics, but I do believe it was mentioned. Being a Superman connoisseur that I am, I do believe that it is mentioned.
It's canon.
So I think they're wrong. Right. Yeah, but that S thing, where the plastic S always just...
The plastic S just frozen. It's like what?
What is this, like Captain America's shield? We're throwing a giant S at people?
Yeah. Well, it's like it's a weird power. It's like it feels the same way when like people talk about Star Wars Jedis and having like they have like infinite abilities. Apparently, they keep getting new abilities every time they make new movies. And it's like, hey, guys, they hold a lightsaber and they can move things with their mind. It's just that's dead.
Despite Lex Luthor always being depicted as bald in the comic books, Gene Hackman refused to wear a bald cap for the movies. So it was agreed that he would instead wear a series of ill-fitted wigs that would imply baldness. Hackman relented to wearing the bald cap for the prison scenes, however, as it was unfeasible that Luthor would be allowed to keep his wig collection while locked up. Some of the Fortress of Solitude set background appears to have been built using relatively common large clear plastic corrugated sheets, often used as roofing material in inexpensive building structures.
An effective way of making it all look like ice in the film. I think it worked well.
Sarah Douglas later makes a guest appearance in Supergirl, this TV show, in Season 3, Fort Roz, playing a Kryptonian priestess, Jinda Kal-Raz, from whom the eponymous Kryptonian maximum security prison is named. So I need to watch that. My wife's watched it, I think.
Brush up on it again. Yeah.
This was the most expensive movie ever made at the time of its release, which I can tell.
Yeah, it shows.
When the sequel was put on hold, Christopher Reeve had commitments to make Somewhere in Time, which overlapped with the return to making Superman 2. He also had reservations about the new script and the way Richard Donner had been treated, so he was able to renegotiate his contract at a better rate and with more artistic input.
Ooh.
He said, "Get rid of my director, will you?"
Exactly. Well, I'll be my director myself.
I wonder if he had to kiss him to make him forget his contract too.
We had to do it. Everyone he meets, he has to kiss them.
Many people, especially with those who know about Niagara Falls at the time and the time for falling, have spoken critically about the scene in which the boy at Niagara Falls continues falling for a while, about 30 seconds. For Clark Kent to change to Superman and then fly to catch him in time, in reality, it takes only 3 to 4 seconds for something to fall from the balcony of Niagara Falls to the bottom. Some people have also felt that the scene should have had the boy hanging onto a ledge for some time, getting attention, and then fall over, so Superman would have time to catch him. You know what I mean? Kind of like Lois Lane's previous.
It could have been improved, but the scene wasn't bad.
It's kind of like when she was hanging off the helicopter in the first one, remember? She held there for a while.
Would have been too much of a repeat of what first film, if you ask me. So I think it's better to have him just falling constantly.
But
he was a very light kid. He was very light. The wind just kept him
falling
in the air.
with style.
He was basically gliding the entire time.
So what you're saying is, if you would have fell over in 1 second, you would have
exactly.
died.
That's just immediately dead. Yeah, Superman would let me die. That's what you're saying, Jimbo.
That's what I'm saying.
Superman
And
would
then
say,
he
poor old
tried
Kyle.
to lift you up.
I'm my super strength. I can't pick you up. You're fat.
Kryptonite. Kyle is kryptonite. Oh, and then Kyle ended up becoming the villain, like in The Incredibles, where all the kid wanted was his autograph from Mr. Incredible's autograph. Kyle been like
Something amazing, I guess.
the food gesture or something.
Yeah. Terrible.
You have one of them hot dog guns, that's like the T-shirt cannons, but it shoots hot dogs.
I think exactly. Giant hot dogs.
In the Richard Lester version, Clark as Superman gives up his powers and becomes immortal before sleeping with Lois. In the Richard Donner cut, Superman hadn't relinquished the powers yet. I'm going to leave that one alone.
The most dangerous scene in the movie.
Inquiring minds want to know. And you know, well, I'll tell you this now, because as I was watching these last night, I think it's the Richard Donner cut at the end where... No, it's the first one. I think. In one of them, he comes in, and I think it's when he kissed... It's either when he kissed her or when he went around the world. Either way, he comes back to the office. I think it's when he kisses her. And she loses her mind, and she sits down, and she's like, "What was I thinking?" And she's like, "Clark, get me a hamburger with everything on it, and fries, and salad, and all this." And I'm thinking, is she pregnant? No, really. I'm like,
oh gosh,
we can't reverse everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I don't.
I was like, man,
that would have been a dark twist, but yeah.
But can you imagine?
Yeah, can you imagine? Yeah, I could. That was a bad story.
At the time of its release, it was the second highest grossing sequel in history after Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back. They were then the only two sequels to gross over 100 million domestically, and Empire was the only one to gross over 200 million domestically. I think since then, probably some of the Marvel movies have joined them. Mm-hmm. Maybe Harry Potter.
Definitely, sure, yeah.
In July 2021, Jack O'Haron, who played Non, revealed that Superman didn't kill Ursa, Zod, and Non at the end. He told Yahoo Entertainment that director Richard Donner filmed an extra scene that confirmed all three villains survived and were carted off to a terrestrial prison instead of the Phantom Zone.
Ah, okay.
Which I wondered, I always thought, did they die?
Yeah, simply since Sarah Douglas makes her reappearance again in Supergirl. Different character, obviously, but still, she appeared again.
Towards the end, Superman gets Zod in a headlock, threatening to break his neck. But then lets go when Non and Ursa grab Lois and threaten to pull her in half. At the end of a later Superman film, Man of Steel, the Superman character kills Zod by breaking his neck. Mm-hmm. Now here's some more from Richard Donner. According to editor, this is part of the Richard Donner notes, Michael Tall, the film contains about 200 new visual effects in addition to what was already there. Most of the new scenes in this cut were shot during the production of Superman. They had to be rewritten and reshot by Richard Lester because under Director Guild rules, he had to direct more than half the film to be credited. One exception in this new alternative scene where Lois discovers Clark's true identity by shooting him. Richard Donner was never able to shoot this scene during principal photography. The take now used in this cut was used as the screen test for Christopher Reeve and Margot Kidder.
Oh, wow.
So that's...
it works well, too.
Yeah, so basically Lois figures out that he's Superman, and she pulls a gun on him in the Richard Donner cut. And he goes, Lois, she's like, well, I guess it's time to find out. And she shoots Superman, right? Yeah. And he's like, takes off his glasses. He's like, he stands there like Superman. He's like, do you know, Lois, that you could have killed Clark Kent? She's like, with a blank. Yeah. So he basically told on himself.
That is such a much better scene too, because it really demonstrates it's like, oh yeah, Lois actually is a smarter and more, she can outsmart Superman. She can.
And like I told Kyle, one of my favorite scenes in that I wish they would have kept in the Donner cut from Superman 2 is when Superman pulls up outside of Perry's window or whatever, and he's like, General, care to step outside?
Yeah.
I love that line. That is one of my favorite lines in all the Superman movies. But then in the Donner cut, he says, General, have you never heard of freedom of the press or something? It doesn't quite hit.
It's a little more corny.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'll get to it in a minute. So at around 1 hour and 14 minutes, the green crystal Clark picks up in the Fortress of Solitude as a prop from actually Superman Returns. A shot of Michael Towell's hands were used for Clark picking up the green crystal. So he's actually him picking up the crystal.
Oh, cool.
And another prop used from Superman Returns.
Yeah.
At around 16 minutes, the actor playing Clark Kent yelling out to Lois Lane after jumps out of the Daily Planet is not Christopher Reeve. It's an uncredited actor who bought to the film the shot for the DVD release. That's something else that's different. Like, she's like, yeah, I think because she's drawing on the picture in the newspaper and puts a hat and glass on. She's like, I think you're Superman, and I'm about to prove you wouldn't let me die. And she jumps out of the window.
Yeah.
And he runs downstairs, and he slows her down, and he burns off the awning or whatever to make it like a little trampoline.
Yeah.
And she lands on the front. She's like, Clark, you almost let me die. So you have that, but also in the first movie, you have Lois jumping off Niagara Falls too.
That was the
to
other.
prove that he's Superman. He just doesn't let her. He just saws off the
Doesn't give it to her.
It's great. I love it. So he does everything he can to just keep it from her. Let's see here. At around 1 hour and 40 minutes, and shooting an emotional scene near the end of the film where Lois sheds tears while having a conversation with Superman on the roof of her apartment. Margot Kidder refused to have anything to help her cry, and sure enough, she was able to do it on her own. Very touching scene. And last but not least, in the ending scene in which Superman reverses time, I guess that's how that worked. It was the original intended ending for this movie, but during production of Superman, the first movie, it was decided to use the ending for the first film instead. Richard Donner and Tom Mankiewicz planned to eventually create a new ending, but Donner was fired during production. When restoring this version, Donner was going to use the theatrical version's ending so that it would not have the same ending as the first film, but Mankiewicz never liked the changed ending in which Clark kissed Lois, so the original ending was used again. So that's something I never understood. Just because you go around backwards in time,
well, I always took it as him going faster than light, so you're actually going backwards in time that way. That's what I always took it as. Like, it's not about him circling; it's more about him how fast he's going. Overall, that's what I always thought it was. And so, like, they convey the going backwards in time as the Earth spinning backwards because the time, because he's going so fast, he's going faster than the speed of light, so he's going backwards in time that way.
No, I understand, but
that was always my idea.
That's not how it works, Kyle. But
explain time travel to me, Jimbo.
I'll go. You watch Somewhere in Time, and then you talk to me.
Christopher
about
Lloyd was there.
Watch Somewhere in Time, and then we'll talk. To me, I'll go first. One of my favorite films of all time. I love the 3 Kryptonian. I like Non. There's some, and I like the Donner cut, and I like the original cut. I can take both from each movie, things I enjoy, and I wish I could make my own movie because in the original one you see Non. He's the dummy of the Kryptonians, right? But he's trying to burn a stick with his heat ray vision. It's just like he's
quite
frustrated.
It's hilarious.
Because she's over there like setting snakes on fire and everything, right? He's like, and he does get a little self-congratulatory when the army jeep's coming and he finally blows the tire off one off the other. He looks at Zod for
I did it.
Zod's like, really, we didn't.
Good for you.
We didn't
you did
really
what we all
need
could do.
Right. I love General Zod. I love Terrence Stampa's Zod. I love Ursa, and I love Non. I think those 3 right there are some of the greatest villains in all of cinema history. And Superman. Christopher Reeve was so perfect. Just perfect. And I wish we could have seen what would have happened if he didn't get that. The bee stung the horse and flipped him off the horse and became a paraplegic, obviously. But a lot of it's come of that out of his foundation and everything, too. For me...
If anything, his work as an actor is more heroic than his role as Superman.
This, for me, is the superhero movie. This is the best superhero movie of all time. Young Jimbo has given this a 10 all day, twice on Sundays. But as a standalone movie, I'll give it a solid 9. I can watch this movie anytime. Anytime it's on TV, I'll stop and watch it because I love it. And I just wish that we didn't have to have two cuts of this movie. I wish they could have worked their differences out and just made one movie with
Found
everything.
that final cut
and
that's
just,
truly out there.
Yeah, and that everybody would have agreed on. So, to me, Kyle, I love this movie. Superman rules, Batman rules.
Yeah.
Take it away.
Who knows? Maybe like 2006, 25 years later, maybe in 2031 we'll have Superman 2 the final cut, and it'll finally be everything you want, Jimbo.
And that's only like a few years away now, Kyle.
Exactly. It's closer than you think. So we're pretty good.
Kyle,
there.
what's your thoughts on this movie?
Jimbo, this is an easy watch for me. I think this movie is a strong 8 out of 10 for me. I think it's one of the best movies ever made, and for Superman genre specifically. And I think Christopher Reeve, like he puts in such a powerful performance of Superman that he ruins Superman for other actors. It's tough for any actor to put on the role of Superman just because you're going to get Christopher Reeve and they're going to come up short. That's just it. It's kind of unfortunate, really. You almost want to time displace Christopher Reeve to now, where we have better visual effects. Where we actually use Christopher Reeve and make the perfect Superman movie to some degree, just because Christopher Reeve is so perfect at the role, just amazing. No, don't use AI to do that. Don't do that. Don't do it. But I think he puts in a remarkable performance. The same thing. Margaret Qualley does a great job as Lois Lane, and all the other actors. Margaret Kidder, sorry, and Terrence Stamp does a great job as General Zod, and really just it's quintessential Superman. It's classic Superman.
And
you want to know
Gene
what Superman
Hackman,
is.
we can't even forget Gene Hackman.
Gene Hackman is an amazing performance himself. Yeah. Once again, like an amazing career.
At the end, he wants to double cross Superman once again just to get Australia thing.
Yeah.
And Superman played him.
Yeah, but I think the highest praise I can give to it is it is quintessential Superman. Where to know what Superman is to watch this film. To watch this film is to know what Superman is. Like, you don't necessarily have to go to the comic books the same way. You don't have to go to video games or other movies. Superman is just by watching.
Well, because even Zod mentioned, he's like, he cares more about these Earthlings than he does himself, basically.
Yeah. These films get it more than any other adaptation of this character. And in comparison to other superhero movies, other adaptations of the characters, they always change something about them to make them more screen friendly. But Superman 2 is just gets it. It's incredible. So yeah, I highly recommend this film. This film is a great film for all film lovers and especially superhero fans. And couldn't recommend it enough. It's a strong 8 out of 10 for me, and I love it to death. It's not like personally, like I'm not the biggest Superman fan in the world, so I don't watch it all the time. But it's definitely worth watching anytime I come around to it. I never regret watching Superman 2.
And the theme song, man. Just comes on. I'm probably
John Williams
getting a speeding ticket because I believe I can fly.
It's inspirational. Yeah. So that's where we're coming to, Jimbo.
Well, I hope you guys are enjoying the summer sequels. It's something that we've been wanting to do for a long time, and usually we bring up other movies and everything, but this has been a little break from what we normally do. So only a couple more left. I'm not going to tell you what they are, but we'll probably only do about 2 more. Then we'll get back to regularly scheduled programming. So
that's right.
Well, Kyle, with that being said, I think the summer sequel is coming to close, and that's a wrap.
And cut. Terrence Stamp rules.
Hey, this is Bond again, and you're listening to I Heard It in a Movie. The movie today is Superman 2 from 1980, and here are some interesting facts about Superman 2. The music for Superman 2 was originally going to be composed by John Williams, who did the original score for Superman in 1978. Well, he was slated to work on that for the sequel, but here's where it gets interesting. Williams says that a busy schedule is the reason that he turned it down. But the producer of the film says that the new director, Lester, and Williams were left alone in a room. And when he returned, Williams said, "I cannot work with this man." So which part's true? Was it Williams' busy schedule that kept him from working on Superman 2? Or was it the fact that he couldn't work alongside the new director? Well, this left Lester in a predicament. He turned to his buddy Ken Thorne, a music producer. Ken Thorne wrote minimal material for this movie. He used a lot of Williams' score sheets and things that were lying around. He would change it slightly or maybe change the tempo. So Ken Thorne took those ideas, elaborated on them, added here, subtracted there, and came up with his own version of the music. See, why John Williams used a full London Symphony Orchestra, which is over 100 members, Thorne, on the other hand, he had to use an in-studio or in-house orchestra, which is only about 50 members. So I think he did a pretty good job. You really can't tell the difference. He made a smaller orchestra sound much larger. But the biggest challenge for Ken was the villains, Zod and his mates. You see, there was very little work from the first film that he could use. Zod and his friends only come out at the very beginning of the movie as they are put into the zone. So, what was Thorne to do? He had to create all new music to distinctly identify each of those members. Just as John Williams had created a distinct sound for Clark Kent, Superman, Lois Lane, and Lex Luthor, Ken Thorne would also have to create a distinct theme for Zod. Ken Thorne's work can be looked at in two different ways. One is a negative way. His work does very little to push the narrative forward. He takes mostly from John Williams, and he fails to produce really any new themes or ideas. Also, Thorne's work can be looked at more positively. His work expands from the original. He takes John Williams in the original Superman movie and makes it his own. And he actually bridges the two songs from the movies. Personally, I think he did this flawlessly. You can't really tell the difference. If you were to watch both movies back to back, you wouldn't sit there and say, hey, the music sounds different, or something's wrong with the soundtrack. The soundtrack was released by Warner Brothers in 1980. I also found out that in 2008, it was part of the Superman the Music, an 8-CD box set. 8 CDs. I don't know who could sit through 8 CDs worth of Superman music, but it's out there. There's only 6,000, but you can find one. Bond out.